What I want you to do is make some swings, and then in the downswing and through swing, make sure this rod goes forward way past this rod on the ground. Today, I'm going to share with you a couple of great ways to make sure you get through the ball correctly in terms of your arms and your weight shift, your feet, your pressure shift, your center of mass, all these things. We're going to make sure this happens so we get the right kind of hand position, and also we start to move through the golf ball like all the best players do. So amateurs can become world-class ball strikers just like the best players in the world. So we're really looking at how we can unweight this right side correctly with the trail foot banking correctly and moving our tailbone, belt buckle in the correct direction through the golf ball at the right time. So I'm going to share with you a couple of ways of feeling this, experiencing it, that you can take straight to the golf course. So make sure you stick with me to watch all the different things I describe here today. First thing I want you to do is take an alignment rod, ideally a small one if you have one, put it through your belt buckle like this and just point it down to the ground. Now I've got a rod on the ground, that's critical as well. You can use a mark on the ground obviously. What I want you to do is make some swings, and then in the downswing and through swing, make sure this rod goes forward way past this rod on the ground. Now what we see with some golfers that back up from the golf ball, this rod will stay behind that ball, and the center of mass, the center of pressure, then will never get forward. Now you might have heard me talk about before in other videos, the best players in the world move 5 to 6 inches laterally in their transition area of their golf swing. You'll see now where that rod is now pointing. Yet again, if I have it more vertically down, it's still past that rod on the ground. If I move that 5-6 inches, then we want to turn and kind of stick there and have this posted out here. Now this rod is obviously too long for me to hit golf shots with. If you have a short rod, you can do the same exercise and basically hit balls. But what I'd like you to do is make a few swings even with your arms like I am now, and feel the way that rod moves to give you an idea of how that center of pressure moves around. Once you've done that, we'll take it to a golf. So taking it to the golf ball, just use the same feels. Keep the rod in the ground and really feel like your belt buckle, if you have one on, gets past that rod in the ground. That is the goal. And you see here, I'm fully forward. Ideally, I'd probably want my chest a little bit more back than I had there, but I'm really trying to show you guys getting that belt buckle forward. So belt buckle forward and head kind of staying round about just past the golf ball is what we're looking for. That would be the ideal scenario with both the units. But get that belt buckle through. There you see it. Really trying to feel that my hub, my lower hub, gets past that rod on the ground to create that kind of pressure and lateral movement that we're looking for. There is rotation. Don't get me wrong, I'm not talking about rotation today. There is rotation. We want to turn and relocate to face where we want to go as well, but let's concentrate on the lateral movement because that's what a lot of amateur golfers don't get in their downswing, and that makes it really hard to make good contact on the ball. The second thing I want you to do is grab a water bottle or an athlete's foot spray bottle or some object, take your stance and put it just inside your trail foot. Now what we're looking to do here now is, as we start down, bank the foot to knock that bottle over. Now the key thing is you bank the foot, so I'm talking about this movement, not this movement. What we see with a lot of golfers in their downswing is the foot comes up too early and goes out towards the ball too much. The right hip gets too high and forward, and then from there you can only really hit it across the ball or side bend, early extend and get the hands high and compensate to make a normalish impact. But then the timing of which becomes very frantic and inconsistent. So in order to get the consistency of what we're looking for, banking the foot, rotating the foot, and then letting the foot raise at a much later state and shifting the pressure, what we call in a more linear direction, is what we're trying to do, trying to achieve with this exercise. So let's take my setup again, place the bottle there, just inside my foot. I've got that probably about ½ inch inside the foot just to make it a little harder. But what I'm trying to do is push that over. I'm not going to do it with this practice swing rehearsal, but you could too, just to feel what we're doing. So I'm going to hit this one now. Again, I'll probably hit this about 75%, and I'm just going to try and knock that bottle over on the downswing. Yeah, great strike, knocked the bottle over. Really happy with how it felt, how it looked in terms of this ball flight and the strike. So that was a great way for me to really concentrate and shift in that foot. What you see with a lot of amateur golfers is this foot actually goes back. I call it like the cigarette move. So you kind of almost putting the cigarette out on the floor. The foot swivels and goes back and then raises up. We definitely do not want that move on your golf swing. It's not very efficient. The last thing I want you to think of is the trail hand, and I've got a couple of ways of describing this for you. So I've got a chuck it device here. So you don't have to use this, but this is just a different way of describing it. What we want to feel as we're moving this pressure forward, we want the right hand to be kind of bent back and the right elbow to be as forward as we can. This kind of shape. So if I was imagining I was throwing this ball from this chuck it device into the ground, kind of in this area here, that's the way my trail hand and trail elbow need to feel. If I was going to throw it as low as I possibly can and as forward as I possibly can, and try and keep this all ahead. So my fingers will be pointing way back at a similar angle to this chuck it device. So that's what we want to feel. So again, if I go and feel like I'm going to throw this now, how low could I do it? How late could I throw it? Again, if we were throwing a stone skimming in water, we wouldn't release it here. We'd release it out there somewhere. And if I release it really late, look what it does to my rotation. I get rotation for free. So this kind of move, elbow, wrist, throw it as late as I can, as low as I can, is what we're trying to achieve. Now, you don't have to go and buy a chuck it device. Take a golf ball and do exactly the same with a golf ball. And you see there it landed there. So it's off at an angle. So it's probably close to 1 o'clock on the clock face. And it's landing, here we go, 1, 2, 3, let's call it 3 yards after where I'm setting up to the ball. So that's the kind of thing we're aiming for. If you can get 4 yards, fantastic. But don't get height to get the distance. We want that distance to come from a low flight. That gets the hand at the right angle, gets his hand extended back. We can extend that back to max amount. Now you might be saying to me, if I extend that back a max amount, why isn't the ball going to go right? If I'm going at 1 o'clock, why is the ball going to not go right? Well, we are going to rotate. And we are going to release that hand. The force implied on the hand and gravity and everything is going to make the hand want to square up. So we don't have to try and do that. That is going to happen naturally. Now, if you find you are hitting the ball right at all the time, apply a little bit of rotation as we do this hand move. See how my fingers now, my thumb are rotating. And particularly the lead arm, for me, gives it a lot more rotation. The right arm goes along for the ride. But that's what you could do. So once we've done a few practice swings feeling that, let's take that to the ball. So right wrist feeling like it's going to be set back. And the lowest shot I hit today definitely felt like I had more shaft lean, more pressure on the ball. It felt good, it felt different, it felt influenced. Influence is a word I use a lot. I want your swing to be influenced, not have swing A or swing B. I don't want you to think, how do I take this swing to the course? I want you to think, well, I'm going to do some work, practice swings, some reps, and then let it affect my natural swing and play normal golf. Maybe one conceptual thought. Okay, can I hit this a bit lower? Something like that. Can I shift my pressure a bit more? That would be the way I'd feel it, and that's the way I'd want you to take it to the golf course. Give it a go and let me know how you get on.